At the highest altitude, the legislation basically says that gun owners should be responsible for who has access to their guns, and that if a gun is lost or stolen, it should be reported immediately to law enforcement so that law enforcement has a better chance of recovering the weapon or finding the person who stole the weapon.
Could you be much more specific? I read through the bill.
I will now. The legislation also says that if you do not follow the practice of either securing your gun according to the legislation, or if you fail to report the loss or missing firearm in a timely fashion, that you will be responsible for injuries that occur using that weapon over the next 4 years, and that is strict liability. So if you, for example, are a parent who has left a handgun unsecured and your 15-year-old child has taken that gun to school and there's no damage, but it's discovered that the child has a weapon, there will be a fine in the form of a violation. So in this bill, there are no criminal penalties at all. It's strictly civil penalties in the form of fines. If, on the other hand, the child takes the gun and goes to school and shoots up the windows of a school bus, the owner of that firearm will be held directly responsible for the cost, the expense of the damages done by that child who took that weapon from home that was unsecured.
What I'm trying to get at is, what are you requiring as far as secured? Can someone who owns a gun for self-protection leave it on a nightstand at night without putting it in a biometric drawer or safe? Can someone have it in the glove box while driving? Is that considered unsecured?
So security is, whether the gun is secured or not, is whether or not you control access. So in the case of a gun in your glove box, you control the access to that weapon. If you park the car and leave the gun in the glove box and it is not secured with a trigger lock or a cable lock, or it's not in a car gun safe, it would be considered not secured.
What about the nightstand example I gave? Because a lot of people feel like they need guns, rightly or wrongly, right there for protection. And if you're asleep, are you in control of the weapon?
So, Jake, do you want to take this one?
Sure. So under the first provision of the law, it deals with, as Henry referenced, the idea of control and whether the gun is under your personal control. When a gun is no longer under your personal control, it must be safely stored so that people can't gain unintended access. In the case of the nightstand, we would suggest, yes, that needs to be locked up with either a trigger lock or in a gun safe or a gun vault. There are a number of biometric safety features, such as using a fingerprint or a simple code that allow a very quick access that should not impinge on the ability of a gun owner to defend themselves in the case of a home entry.
So this would require that?
If it's no longer under the individual's control, then yes, the gun needs to be locked up.
The one last question I would have in this regard, because opponents of this would say it takes several seconds for one of those to unlock, for a drawer to slide open, or things like that.
3 seconds.
I'm sorry, is there a question there?
Let me take this.
Yeah. I mean, yes.
So how do you respond to them in that regard?
What we would say is that weapon is far more likely to be used to injure a family member themselves than to be used in a home entry situation, and that safe storage allows them to access it in mere seconds, and that 2 or 3 second differential between having to unlock a safety device is well worth the risk, making sure that people don't gain unintended access.